Welcome to problem number 2. We're working with broken pipes. Okay, so a plumber charges $55 for a service call plus $35 per hour. If the plumber's bill was $160, how many hours was he there? Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to circle the numbers that are something that we need to kind of bring our eyes back to. Something we need to kind of pay attention to. We have $55 for a service call. So that sounds like a flat rate right there, just for the service call itself, or to actually, show up, kind of like I'm coming, so I'll go ahead and charge you just this $55. But then we have $35 per hour. Now we know that word per tells us that that's a unit rate. So this is a per hour unit rate. And then we have, if the plumber's bill was $165, that's the total amount. How many hours was he there? So this is the question that we need to answer right here. Oops, so we have now utilized all of our little drag and drop items there. And so now we can look at this word problem in kind of a better light. Hopefully it kind of doesn't make it look as confusing. So what do we need to understand? What is it we're trying to ask? Well, we're looking for how many hours was the plumber there. That's what we want to know. We want to know how many hours was he there. How many hours did the plumber work? So we could do that. How many hours instead of was he there? How many hours did the plumber work? So we could put that on there as well if we wanted to rephrase it in a different way. Either way, we're looking for how many hours. That's what we're looking for, is how many hours. So now our plan is we're going to write an equation to figure it out. That's what we're going to do. Let's see what we have. We have 55 flat fee or service call fee. Let's do that. Service call, call. Okay, let's make sure that Miss Young can type. Okay, so $55 for a service call. Then we have $35 per hour. We don't know the amount of hours, unknown hours, or that could be hours worked. Let's do it that way. X equals, let's do it that way maybe a little bit, hours worked. Okay, so those two kind of go together because we have hours right here per hour, hours worked, we're just not sure. And then we have our total bill, which is $160 total bill. All right, so we have our service call, which is our flat rate fee, $35 per hour. We're just not sure how many hours. And then we have the total bill. So we're going to write that on here. So I have 55 plus $35 per hour, but I'm not sure how many hours. So I'm going to multiply my 35 by how many hours worked. And both of those together is going to get me the total of my bill. I need to use my inverse operations. So whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side. I need to remember that as well. Right here is a positive. Let me actually just put that on there just so you can see it. This is a positive 55. When there is not anything in front of a number, we know it's positive. So the inverse operation of positive 55 is a negative 55. What I do to one side, I need to actually do to the other side as well. Let me line those up so you can see that a little better. And so 55 and 55, if I go ahead and use my tool up there, you can see they cross each other out. That's what we call a zero pair. A positive number and negative number that are exactly the same, they zero each other out. So I'm going to bring this 35x down, and then that is going to equal 105. Because 160 minus 55 gives me 105. Now, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and do the inverse operation of multiplication. The inverse operation of multiplication would be division. So I'm going to divide each side by 35 because I'm multiplying my variable by 35. So I need to divide it by 35 to isolate that variable and get rid of that number. Because 35 divided by 35 actually equals 1. And 1x is just an x. and then I take my 105 and I divide it by 35, and that gives me 3 because I put that in my calculator right there and it worked out really nice. So then what I need to do is that's 3 hours worked. Okay, so I need to check that just to make sure I got it correct. I want to check. And so I'm going to take that 3, when I say x equals 3, I'm going to rewrite this equation right here over here. So I have 55 plus 35x equals 160. And now I'm going to plug in where my x is. I'm going to plug in that 3. So 55 plus 35 times 3 equals 160. Now I am going to utilize, and I'm putting a space in between it so you guys can see, I'm going to utilize the order of operations, which says parentheses first. Well, there's nothing in the parentheses but my 3, but I'm multiplying that together, so that's multiplication that comes next. Excuse me. So I have 35 times 3, that's going to equal 105. So I have 55 plus 105, 105 equals 160. And then I'm going to add those together. 55 plus 105 equals 160 equals, and I just bring down the other side 160. So that's true. So what I have figured out is how many hours was he there? The plumber worked 3 hours, worked 3 hours. And that would be my answer right there. So I'm going to bold that, or you can circle it however you want it to show, but the plumber worked 3 hours. You need to actually, when you have a word problem, you need to answer it with a complete sentence. So you can say the plumber was there for 3 hours, the plumber worked 3 hours, something to indicate that there was a charge, $35 per hour, for the amount of 3 hours.